بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى أما من استغنى فأنت له تصدى وما عليك ألا يزكى وأما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى كلا إنها تذكرة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Surah Abasa to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam while Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was in Mecca before he made hijrah to Medina Munawwara. The Surah has 42 verses and it is with regards to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam frowning. Abasa is with regards to the frown that was on the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The story behind the verses that have been revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allama ibn Kathir rahimahullah makes mention that it once happened that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was engaged with a talk speaking to the leaders of the Quraysh in a matter of seeing that how they can accept Islam, how they can come into the religion, into the deen of Islam. And while Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was speaking to these high profile people, the leaders of the Quraysh, Abdullah ibn Maktoum radiyallahu ta'ala an, who was a blind Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he did not see and he did not know the environment because he was blind. He could not see the environment in which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was, and that he was occupied with speaking to these people. He burst into the circle and he started calling Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam because he wanted to learn from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Other tafseers, they make mention that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was speaking to Utbah and Abu Jahl, and at the same time the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala an, at that time he did not accept Islam. And while Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was speaking to them, he had an opportunity. They came to visit Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Abdullah ibn Maktoum came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in teaching him a verse of the Quran. And this is the story that has been revealed with regards to that story that took place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimanded Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam by revealing these verses to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this is the story and the background of the story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes mention and states, Abasa wa tawalla, speaking to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers the honor of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not make Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the mukhatab, the person that he is directly speaking to. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Quran, Abasa, he frowned and he turned his face away, meaning that it was a third person. And actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was directing the speech to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So normally we say, you frowned. We speak to the person directly and we'll say, you frowned and you turned your face away. In Arabic we will say, Abasta wa tawallayta, because you're speaking directly to that person. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was supposed to speak directly to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to say, Abasta wa tawallayta. But keeping the high profile of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not reprimand Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam by saying, Abasta wa tawallayta. Allah said, Abasa wa tawalla. He frowned and he turned his ways, as if Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did a mistake. There was some little issue, Allah wanted to rectify it, but Allah did it very beautifully and very stylishly. An ja'ahul a'ma, when the blind person came to you. At that time when the blind person came to you. And here this was the ijtihad of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ijtihad is when a person sees a reason. He sees a specific reason, and based on that reason, a person makes a decision. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did not want to shun the Sahabi and never ever want to speak to him. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, keeping the etiquettes of the environment in front. So if I'm speaking to one person, I'm speaking to 2 or 3 people, and I'm speaking to them, then the demand of the gathering is that you should not burst in and come and disrupt while I'm speaking. So the ijtihad of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the personal opinion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that time was that why are you bursting in and coming to speak while I am in a discussion? This can be the first possibility. The second possibility is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made ijtihad thinking that if these people accept Islam, it will be a door opening for so many more to accept Islam. Abu Jahl can come into the fold of Islam. Utbah bin Rabi'ah, he can come into the fold of Islam. My uncle Abbas radiallahu. So the ijtihad of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his personal reason that he thought it will be more appropriate to speak to these high profile people, that if they do come into the fold of Islam, it will be more beneficial for Islam, that they will be the door to many more people coming into the fold of Islam. So this was the ijtihad of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying that just wait, you have many other occasions and many other times you can come to me. And Abdullah ibn Maktoum would come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on many times. Don't come at this specific time when I'm sitting with these people, and it is very seldom that I get a chance to sit with them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the surah did not confirm the correctness of the ijtihad of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah did not confirm, you thought this is better for you, but actually it was not better for you. And that's why the ulama have stated that when something is doubtful, something which is doubtful, it can never be preferred to something that is certain. Something that is doubtful. These people, it is a doubt, it is a possibility that they might accept Islam. There is a possibility they might not accept Islam. It's not certain. But Abdullah ibn Maktoum, if we teach him an ayat of the Quran, it is certain that he will learn the verse of the Quran. It is with certainty that he will be learning the Quran. And the other thing with Abdullah ibn Maktoum was, he was blind. He was a blind Sahabi. He was a person that was excusable. So here also there is a principle based which the Mufassirin have stated. This indicates these verses of reprimanding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also teach us and indicate that if there is an excusable person that breaks a rule, an excusable person that breaks a rule, then the etiquette is we should not reprimand such a person. If he's an excusable person, you see a 1-year-old kid, you see a 2-year-old kid, he's running here in the front, he's touching certain, he's an excusable kid. Then there's no means to reprimand him, there's no sense in reprimanding such a person, because he's not the person to be reprimanded. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, see the style that Allah utilizes. Allah uses caution with love. Allah uses caution, but loving Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So sometimes you want to reprimand someone, but you reprimand them in such a harsh way that you're showing hatred to that person. Here there is reprimand and showing a way that you made a little slight slip, but with love and with muhabbat to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And explaining the story, anja'ahul a'ma, that when the blind person came to you. This is in reference to Abdullah ibn Maktoum. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّهُ يَزَّكَّى. And here we know Allah is speaking now directly to Rasul. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ. This ka is directed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why the first part would have actually been more correct to say Abasta wa tawallayta. But keeping the high profile of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah said Abasa wa tawalla. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ. And what do you know? And what can you tell us? And what could you say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? لَعَلَّهُ. It is great possibility. The great possibility is يَتَزَكَّى. He would have self-rectified his soul. He would come to you and his tazkiyatun nafs and his rectification of his soul would have done. أَوْ يَذَّكَّرُ فَتَنْفَعَهُ الذِّكْرَ. Or he would have taken it as a nasiha, as an advice, and the advice would have proved beneficial for him. So there's only two possibilities. Either his tazkiyah would have been made, or at least he would hear what you are saying and it would have been beneficial for you. Amma man istaghna. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to the case of the others, the disbelievers. Amma man istaghna. What about those people that they do not care about anything? Amma man istaghna. They have no care about anything. فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى فَأَنْتَ لَهُ تَصَدَّى. While you are pursuing anxiously behind them. وَمَا عَلَيْكَ أَلَّا يَزَّكَّى. And there's no blame upon you if they are not rectified, if their soul is not purified. وَأَمَّا مَنْ جَاءَكَ يَسْعَى. But what about the person that came to you rushing? This was Abdullah ibn Maktoum who burst into the gathering. He came rushing to you. He came to learn from you. He wanted to learn a verse of the Quran. وَهُوَ يَخْشَى. And he's a person that used to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَأَنْتَ عَنْهُ تَلَهَّى. فَأَنْتَ عَنْهُ تَلَهَّى. But when he came to him, then you paid no heed to him. You did not pay attention to him. تَلَهَّى. You gave him no attention. كَلَّا إِنَّهَا تَذْكِرَةٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, nevertheless, this is indeed an advice to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. With this also the ulama have stated that an important principle that comes out, that on one hand, the requirement to teach a Muslim and to encourage him on attaining perfection. One is to teach the Muslims. On the other hand, we have to provide guidance to non-Muslims. There is two aspects, the Ummah-e-Ijaba and the Ummah-e-Da'wah. We have the Ummah that has accepted Islam, the Muslims that are currently Muslims. And we have the responsibility of the Ummah-e-Ijaba and the Ummah-e-Da'wah, the non-Muslims, that we have to give them da'wah so that they can come into the fold of Islam. The principle laid down here makes it clear that the first requirement takes priority over the second. That is, it is more important for us to give attention to the Muslim, a person that is a Muslim, to teach him, to build his iman, to make his relationship with Allah. This is more important and it takes priority over the second, that is to give da'wah to the non-Muslims. It is improper to delay the first task, which is educating the Muslim, because of giving da'wah to the non-Muslim. This indicates that education of Muslims and giving da'wah to them and reforming them is more important and takes priority than getting a non-Muslim to embrace Islam and come into the fold of Islam. So here these ayat in the first verses of Surah Abasa show us the importance of da'wat. And da'wat, or to a believer, gives priority. Da'wat to the believer in educating him, in building his iman, making his relationship with Allah gives priority than even giving da'wah to a non-Muslim for them to come into the fold of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq for understanding.